Hello. Hey, anybody here? Got my blender ready. That's what you're here for, right? Got to charge my phone. It's 10:59 here. We start at 11. So we'll get going here in just a minute. It says 3 people here. I'm going to turn this Voxer off. My bad. I got the question box. You can chat in there if you want. A couple of things you might want to know before we get started today is that the slides, if you want the slides for this presentation, they are on the event page. I posted a comment. Also, the slides are pinned to my Twitter account profile page, and you can get on there and get the slides there. That's the best way. That or the event page on for the Google Hangout itself. Okay, so the blender is a prop. We are not going to blend anything. I'm actually going to move this out of the way. Pretty good for a gag. I am also wearing a hard hat. That's because we're going to rock the roof off pretty hard, and I want to make sure I got my head is safe. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Good? Hello? All right, I think we're good. If you can't hear me or if there's any other technical problems, pop it over here in the question box. If not, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to put the slides up one more time. If you were looking for these slides, they're posted to the Google Hangout event page, and they are also pinned to the top of my Twitter profile. So you can get those there. Yes, absolutely was gonna use that blender to blend up some anchovies, but somebody didn't hook me up with any, so I'm rolling without anchovies tonight. First of all, I want to thank all y'all being here. EdCamp Global is something I always get really fired up for, and I think it's a really cool thing that more teachers and people that work in schools should take advantage of. And I know it's something that as we get closer to the start of the school year, it's something that really gets me all pumped up and ready to go. So hopefully you guys can learn a little bit about blended learning today. I'm going to pull some slides up here. We're going to hope this works. All right, can you all see that, I hope? I'm going to assume that if you're not posting anything or if you're not leaving any comments or something, you are having the time of your life and that you are learning everything that I would want you to learn from this session. That URL right there will also take you to the slides. I forgot to mention that. And if you're one of those nerds that uses QR codes like me, that QR code will also get you to the slides, y'all. So hopefully this will be a resource that will help you as you go forward in your teaching profession, career, whatever it is that you dabble in. So yeah, blended learning, just an overview of what that is in case you're just some noob that doesn't have any idea. Blended learning is when we use tech tools as well as brick and mortar meet space, and we combine all those things together to, oh man, I'm getting lots of props on the hat. Awesome. I'm glad that I have this hat for you three people that enjoy it. Blended learning is where we use normal brick and mortar space as well as technology tools to engage our students in interesting ways and motivate them and make our life easier, but also make the time we have with them more impactful. So just so you can get to know me, my name is Josh Howard. My Twitter handle is at Josh C. Howard. I would love to expand my PLN with you being part of it. So if you want to follow me, I will follow you back. I work in Fulton, Missouri. I have taught language arts for the past 4 years. I've taught elementary school. I just moved into an instructional technology facilitator position with my school district, so I'm really excited about that. Working on my Google certification and stuff like this is really getting me fired up to work more in running workshops and doing trainings and stuff. So hopefully I have created a workshop and a training here that's beneficial to you. All right, so what we're going to be doing here today isn't just a general overview of what blended learning is, but also I'm going to show you what my process is for that, one that's very specific. And you can use the tools I'm going to share with you today in a multitude of ways, but I'm going to show you specifically how I use them. And if that's a process that works for you, that's cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the definition of blended learning. We're going to talk about the difference of blended learning and tech-rich instruction. Those are two very different things. They are often confused. I'm going to give you some tools, 4 or 5 tools that you could take and use tomorrow. Application time. If I presented this in meet space, as I like to say, I would give you a little bit of time to work with it, but I do want to leave some time for questions or anything like that at the end. And so that's what the final reflections and stuff for. All right, a couple of questions I want you to consider before we get started. What is your current understanding of blended learning? I'd like for you to realize that this session is for somebody that doesn't know anything about it. So if you feel like this is too advanced or something you don't understand, this is for somebody that just wants to get started with taking their instruction online and engaging their students in more than one way. And be thinking of how often are you incorporating online learning tools into your classroom instruction. So if you're somebody that struggles with integrating those things, hopefully you can reflect on that and use some of these tools. Remember, you don't have to use everything, but try one and kind of grow from that. All right, so what is blended learning? I'm going to try something here that, I want to see if this works. I'm going to play a YouTube video here and see if y'all can hear it, because I like this video.
Blended learning is when brick and mortar schools provide online lessons for students. And because those lessons are online, students have some control over the time, place, path, and pace of their learning, so that rather than orienting around the chalkboard, we're delivering each student the right lesson at the right time. First, it allows us to personalize education for every student. Second, blended learning allows us to provide education opportunities that before were geographically out of reach for some students. Third, blended learning gives the system a way to control costs, to allow them to reallocate their budgets to higher priority areas. Blended learning also empowers teachers with new ways to meet the individual needs of each and every student in their classrooms. Blended learning allows students to rewind, revisit concepts, and fill in the gaps until they've truly mastered every concept before they move on to the next one. So often people ask me, what's the best model of blended learning? And the good news is that there is no single best model. We now have a variety of options in our toolkit. And the best leaders are those who reach into that toolkit and deploy innovations that meet the needs of each individual student and teacher and community. It's a powerful day and age to be involved in education.
All right, I'll stop right there, but you get the idea. The blended learning is supposed to help us engage all of our students in different ways. So think of it as a differentiation tool more than anything. The core component of blended learning is that your student is getting at least part of the instruction is through some sort of digital or online tool. So I'm going to show you a series of online and digital tools here today that will kind of help you get started with that process. Blended learning is online and personalized. So we're going to talk about the difference between blended learning and tech-rich instruction. Part of it's coming through online learning. Some elements are of student control. So you're giving students control, you're letting them personalize what they want to do. And then your online component is a way that you're pushing out content to them. Blended learning is also face-to-face. So the student is learning at least part of the time with you, the teacher, some sort of adult providing instruction in the classroom. Blended learning is integrated and connected, meaning that you have face-to-face components as well as online. And those aren't done in isolation. They are done in complement of each other. So the time that you have with a student in real time is something that's going to benefit them whenever they go to work on their own, online or digitally, and vice versa. So what is tech-rich instruction? Face-to-face, teacher-controlled. The students typically don't have much voice or control in what they're doing. Students are all working on the same thing. So one of the things about blended learning is that you can personalize it to what each learner needs in your classroom. And it happens exclusively in the building. So like if it's tech-rich instruction and it's not blended, it means students can't really do it at home on their own because they need you in the classroom to show them what to do. So I came up with this little chart here that kind of compares the two, technology-rich instruction versus blended learning. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because I'm sure that we are kind of getting this by now. But if you want to check the slides later and you want to use this as a resource, you want to share this with somebody else, this is something that's really helpful to help illustrate the difference between just using technology in the class and blending your learning for enhanced motivation, engagement, etc. And it fits really well with Samer model. For those of you who are familiar with that, I'm not going to get too much into that, but if you want to impress your friends and talk about Samer model, this is a really good way to get up towards the above the line with modification and redefinition. So tools that I use, these are what I'm going to go over with you today are EdPuzzle, Google Forms, Padlet, and Educreations. These four things working together will give you a really solid foundation for creating a blended learning unit or lesson. The reason that I like these four is because they're really user-friendly. You could learn how to use these in a few minutes. The structure is really solid and firm, and it's easy for you to push these out to students, but also to check on there for accountability and look at their work easily and stuff like that. And most learning management systems, course sites for Blackboard, Google Classroom, other stuff, these are really easy to push out these resources to your students. So that's one of the other reasons that I like to use it. So the first thing is EdPuzzle. If you've never used EdPuzzle, EdPuzzle is basically a resource that a teacher can use to take a video and kind of chop it up into different parts and ask questions or give quizzes. And based on the how you edit the video, the student will stop periodically and answer a question or take a quiz, and then you can check their work on that. So like you could record a video of yourself teaching a lesson, or you could find one on there. There's tons of them that are on there, and it pulls all sorts of resources from stuff like YouTube or Khan Academy or things like that. You just pull them right off of there and use those, or you can make your own. But it's a really awesome resource because of the functionality, but also because of all the resources it gives you access to. The next one is Educreations. A lot of people don't really know about this, but it's awesome. What Educreations is, it's a whiteboard program that allows you to record yourself writing something, drawing, just basically your handwriting. You put pictures on it, but it allows you to record your voice and your writing at the same time. And so you can share out a process with a student. So it'd be great for doing something like math, but also for like modeling the exact artifact you want a student to recreate. So there's a lot of good ways that you could use something like Educreations that has you go through a process firsthand and then send that out to a student to watch on their own time. And another benefit of something like Educreations is that a student could watch it as many times as they need to figure out the process. Another one I use a lot is Padlet. Padlet is a virtual, kind of like a corkboard. You could send that out to students and have them post stuff. It's good for collaboration, but also a good place for students to post up evidence of things they're working on or organize their ideas, stuff like that. And then finally, Google Forms, especially with Google Forms now being able to grade its own quizzes now. Google Forms is the way that I use an exit ticket. So after a student went through a blended unit, they would use something like Google Forms as a check for understanding, basically. And then I could go back in and look at how they did on that unit and give them feedback or redirection the next day based on how they did. So delivery, these are some other tools that you'll have access to just to share out your blended lessons. I use Google Classroom. We're a Google Apps for Education district, so I really like using Google Apps. It works well with everything. But if you don't have access to Classroom, you could do something. Blackboard course sites is something that I know people have used in the past. I don't particularly like it. It's not really easy to use, but it's an option. You could create just a Google site for your class and post that stuff on there. Blend Space is something that I really like that I'm going to share with you guys today as well. Or you could put this stuff out through QR codes or use shortened URLs just to get, that's something you could write on a Blackboard if you're kind of more of the, you don't have access to some of these other things. All right, so I'm going to, at this time, show you an example of a blended lesson that I created. And you can kind of see how all these different components can start working together. So I'm going to open this. And this takes me to my Blend Space page. Whoops, I'm not logged in. Get logged in here real quick. Okay, so the way that Blend Space works, and I'll show you how to use this here in a second too, but Blend Space lets you take basically this grid and you can pop in all sorts of different resources. So since I'm teaching about blended learning today, I went on EdPuzzle and I created this video that had some checks for understanding. So I would send this blend space page out to a student, and the first thing they would do is to get the content. So this would be me pushing content out to them. They click on this link, and it's going to open this up. And so what the student's going to have here is a YouTube video, but since it's an EdPuzzle, these green marks here are going to be places where we're going to do a stop and check for understanding. So I'll just kind of play through this and show you how EdPuzzle works.
I can say that the things I've been doing the last 2 years have really made a difference because my kids have scored the highest in the state on the standardized tests. So what we're doing here is working, and it's helping them be successful.
We define blended learning as the combination of digital content and activity with face-to-face content and activity. It sounds easy to blend.
All right, so I'm going to kind of
really
scrub up through this.
different.
I mean, you wouldn't particularly want your students to do this. It's not really good to allow them. You can actually turn this ability off, but I have it on in case you guys want to try this out. So let me put it up here where it'll hit the check for
In
understanding.
small groups while other students are still engaged in content learning.
All right, so what happens here is the video stops and the student is asked a question, and it is their responsibility to answer the question. So this says, what are some of the benefits of blended learning? So the student would come in here and they type the answer. Blended learning works because it allows students to work at their own pace. All right, so then they can submit their answer, and then they can now continue watching the video. Okay, so that's how EdPuzzle works, and you can carry it on throughout the whole thing.
There are 3 activities. One's a sorted sentence activity, one is an online interactivity, and one is small group that's going to be working with me.
All right, so but I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but one of the things about using blend space is that if a student has a question, they can come up here and post a comment and say, I didn't understand this question, Mr. H. Can you help me out? So I always like to teach my students how to use those tools that way because I want them to get the most out of what the functionality of the digital tool is. And one of the things about blend space is it allows students to communicate with me. EdPuzzle doesn't really make it easy for a student to ask a question. So that's one of the cool things about that. All right, so that's like EdPuzzle in a nutshell. So let's say a student went through and they finished the EdPuzzle and they're ready to move on to the next step. So the student's going to click this arrow here and they're going to go to the next task. So I'm going to pause this here. This is the Educreations whiteboard that I've recorded for this lesson. So assuming that they have now watched the video and they've done the checks for understanding, now I'm going to have them watch this to get a task about something I need them to kind of engage their thinking about the topic.
Your assignment is to create a 3-column chart that explores the similarities and differences between blended learning, tech-rich instruction, and what they have in common. So you're going to do that with a 3-column chart. On the left-hand side, you are going to write BL or blended learning. On the right-hand side, TRI or tech-rich instruction. In the middle, both. And then while exploring the resources, you will take notes about what blended learning can do, what tech-rich instruction can do, and what they both can do similarly.
All right, so now a student's option is going to be they can also use Educreations, they can send it back, or they could do this on paper or whatever other structure I have in place if they were going to use a Google Doc or do a Google Drawing or something. That this would be the task that I expected them to complete after trying to engage the understanding of the topic, right? So let's say they did that and they turned that in. They could also add a comment here and say, done, yay. So then they're going to move on to the next task. All right, so this is a Padlet. So what I want the student to do now would be you guys in this case. Post a note about a digital tool you have used or would be able to use to facilitate creating, pardon me, typo on my part, a blended learning environment. So I post that direction there. The way Padlet works is you just double click and you might say Google Docs. Google Docs is a great way to collaborate with everyone in the class. Okay, so I could have all the students in the entire class using the same Padlet, and so then they could all post all of their ideas together, and that would be a really great shared resource for them to study that would maybe kind of expand their understanding about the topic. All right, so we finished the Padlet. Now the student's going to move on to the final task, which is the exit ticket, and this is where Google Forms comes into play. So now that on the blend space, they have gotten to the final stage, and I need them to just, after doing all these tasks, figure out what their level of understanding is. So they fill it out just like a Google form. I'm sure you've all filled out Google Forms. Please. All right, and then submit. And it's just like any other Google form, it's done. And so at this point, a student knows that they're finished because they've gone through all of the levels of the blend space page. And so they have now completed a blended learning lesson. So that's one of the awesome things about blend space is that you can put all those different pieces together from all the different other resources that already exist. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go transition back to the presentation. I'm going to come back to blend space in a second, but I just want to show you guys this resource because this is going to be something that's really helpful. Because what I've done is I just took all the tools I talked about today and I gave you a list, just a set of YouTube videos that kind of show you how to use them. Oh wait, here's a question. So do you have to create student accounts in blend space? You can have students create an account, but you can also just share it out to them. You'll want to have them in some way, whether you have them create an account or have them give you some signifier of whose work it is, because you don't have to have an account. You can send a blend space lesson to anybody and just give them the URL. But if they don't log in and you don't have set up a class, then you might not, I mean, they could put Joe Blow or whatever as their name and you wouldn't know who it is. So you'd want to have some sort of structure set up for that. But yeah, that's a great question. So what I did here is just showed you how to set up all those resources. I would normally do this workshop over an entire day, but since I only have an hour with y'all, these videos will show you everything, how to set this up. One thing I do want to talk about a little more is blend space. So I'm going to go back to blend space. So some people were asking about blend space. You can create lessons, you can create classes, and one of the cool things about it is that it's free. So like if you wanted to create a class, you pop in here and set your class up and whatever. So hopefully that kind of addresses the question about classes. More importantly, though, we want to basically, I want to show you guys how to set up a lesson. So if you go in and you'll want to create an account, and after you sign up and all that, if you just come in here and create new lesson, you're going to go back to a grid that's a lot like what I just showed you. All these things over here, you can pull resources directly from. So like, let's say there's some YouTube video you want to use, right? So I want to search YouTube. So I want to put this Rick Astley video into my blend space. So I did that search for YouTube. I can just drag it over here into this box. And so now my student's first assignment in this blended learning lesson is going to be to watch Rick Astley's Never Gonna Let You Go. And so that'll be a really important thing to gear them up for the rest of the lesson. So then I might, let's say I created a Google Drive. In my Google Drive, I created a Google Doc that I want them to respond to. Like, let's say in 2 sentences, describe how Rick feels about the subject of this song. Okay, done. So I might put that in there to have them show me some understanding. I could put that in there as a Google Doc, or I could just put it in there like that, and they can write it on paper and turn it in or whatever. So I mean, this goes about as deep as you'd want it. You could just go in there and type stuff like I did, or you can go and search for resources. In the terms of the lesson that I showed you, I had personally went and created all of these things. So I had all these things set up, right? So I didn't just search for these. I was able to, by URL, and just pop these in here. And from that, which one of these is linked? I don't know which one. But you just go in there and you paste the link in here, and you can put a link to any website that you want your student to have access to. So I can't recommend BlendSpace enough. It really changed the way that I teach, and I feel like not really that many people in the field know about it. As far like EdPuzzle and Padlet and Google Forms are all huge. Educreations is another one that people don't really know that much about, and I can show you a little bit more about how to get set up with that one too. But I really can't recommend BlendSpace enough. If you want to get started with blended learning, BlendSpace is definitely one of the things that you want to get going with. So let me get back to this. So hopefully you guys will take advantage of these resources. I did want to show you guys Educreations. So let me pull that one up. So it works just exactly like you think it would. It just records in real time your marks on a whiteboard along with your voice. So you hit record, and then you can start drawing, right? EdCamp Global rocks. All right, students, your assignment is to draw a picture of a guy saying EdCamp Global rocks. Turn it in when you're finished. All right, you hit save when you're done, and you can preview it, or you can just save it if you know you want to use it. Give it a lesson. Give it a title, I mean, for your lesson, and then create. And then you'll get a way that you can share this out. You click on your lesson, right? I'm not going to play it. But then you would take this URL and you would send this to a student. So here's the link. So it would be, if I want to put this into my BlendSpace, I'm going to copy this URL, and I'm going to come back to my BlendSpace lesson. And I want to put this URL in. Okay. Oops, which one of these is the URL? Here it is. Insert a web page. And so this is the whiteboard I just made with Educreations. I'm going to drag that right over here. And so then it'll put that in. So that's, I mean, it's as easy as that. It's basically fits together as easily or as difficult as you want to make it. You can scale up your resources, spend as much time on them as you want, or you can just basically scrape stuff that already exists off the internet and pop it in there for your whatever you want to use it for, basically. So I feel like I could just talk about how awesome these things all are. I would just tell you, this is stuff that I used every day in my language arts. I taught 7th grade language arts last year, and it's stuff that I used every day because I had students reading levels all over the place. I had them all working on different stuff. So this stuff really does work. It will take some time for you to set up the back channels and how, what different ways they access stuff and things like that. It takes some training at the beginning of the year, but once you get there, it really does make a big difference. I went ahead and I put some other additional resources for if you're somebody that wants to get started with blended learning and it's a new thing for you, or you're just looking for some extra resources or information. Khan Academy has a online course, or a MOOC, that has tons of resources, and you can actually just kind of go through the course. And since it's Khan Academy, it is that's just a free resource that you can hop on and use. Blended Learning Universe is another website with resources. 37. I just saw this kind of a new article, 37 blended resources you can use tomorrow. I can't remember if that's like a Teach Thought article or something. Yeah, it is. And that's really good. And so I immediately thought of that when I was putting this training together. Blended Learning Toolkit's another website that's just got a bunch of tools you can use. Learning Accelerator, ditto. All of that has just tons of resources and things you can use. All right, I got some questions, so let me take a second and go over all of them. I'm so excited you shared this. Can't wait to start using this method of teaching. You're going to love it. It is going to change the way you teach if you take advantage of it. I just learned about EdPuzzle recently. Plan to use it this year. The first way that I started using EdPuzzle was when I had a substitute teacher, actually. I would record myself. And here's a pro tip on EdPuzzle. If you're ever going to be gone, record your lesson beforehand, because sometimes subs are really great, but sometimes they're not. So this gives you more control over what happens in your classroom, and even down to syncing up the stops. Like, if you can't trust the substitute teacher to stop the video and ask a question, it does it on its own, and the students have to go through it on their own. So EdPuzzle is another one of those things that's a game changer if you really invest yourself in it. Like, you can pull stuff off of EdPuzzle that are pre-made, but if you start making your own stuff on there, that can really, it becomes such a more powerful tool for you to use in your class. How do you monitor individuals working on something like EdPuzzle if you're also meeting with a small group of students at the same time? All right, this is really tricky. And so with like EdPuzzle, you don't have a backdoor, so you can't really see what they're doing. So I always have an issue with this, because especially towards the beginning of the year when you haven't been working with students and they say, oh boy, I have this independent time. Oh, what I can do right now is screw around and do nothing. And so sometimes kids will do that. We were really lucky in my district. We had this backdoor software called GoGuardian, and maybe some of y'all have heard of this, but basically what that does is I was able to pull up any one of my students' screens. We have one-to-one Chromebooks, so I could just pull up their screens at any time. And once students knew that, in my class, they didn't really mess with it anymore. Your best bet on this, if you don't have access to some sort of backdoor monitoring software, is to just really work with them hard at the beginning of the year. Have them have your students maintain accountability partners with each other. So like, hey, you're not getting your work done. I need to train these students so they will call each other out and tell each other, hey, you need to get to work, or Mr. Howard would be disappointed, or whatever. I mean, you can work with kids to make sure that I mean, that's totally a teacher-controlled problem, and I know that it's one that we all deal with, but I think if you work with kids and set up your expectations early in the year, you can totally have kids doing that and having success where you don't have to be sitting there on top of them. And in fact, 21st century learners in modern classroom, it is almost like super mandatory that you do. Meet space, oh yeah, that's pretty funny. Meet space is a term I like a lot. Let's see, you could have blended the, oh yeah, sorry, not a question, but yes, good point. I'd not learned about blend space. I like it. They can have bookmarks, but they can also have a communication space. Love it. Yeah, that's one of the great things about blend space is that it does have, it's kind of like bookmarks, but it's also like interactive bookmarks that you also can like see what they've done. So, I mean, that's one of the cool things about it. If you've never used blend space, it's super easy, and yeah, that's exactly what it does. Have you done a blended learning lesson with teachers to demo how it works? Can you give tips on how to do blended learning with adults in PD sessions? I actually have. One of the things I do in my district is with Google Classroom. And so, and also we do a lot on Twitter and networking and having district hashtags. So I will set up something, hey, a bunch of people signed up for my Innovating ELA workshop next week. So what I'll do is I'll send out all the resources beforehand. So like, let's say the PowerPoint, or I mean the Google slide that I'm showing you all right now. What I would do is send that out and be like, hey, I want you guys to tweet out 4 questions you have or 4 things you tried before showing up. But you could totally do that with a blend space. So let's say you had a presentation you wanted teachers to have a little bit of background experience with. You could totally send out a blend space and just create a class on there for teachers. And I've never done that, but that's, I think, would be a really great idea. And that would be a way you could kind of also have that accountability and check on what they're doing. And I know we don't really like to do that with teachers as much, but I do badging with my teachers. And so whenever they reach a goal or they hit a achievement and that they can do something, I'll badge them. And something that would be really great for that is to check their progress to something like blend space. So that's a great idea. I missed the very beginning, but I thought I heard you say this presentation was posted somewhere. Where can we get it? Presentation is in 2 places. It's on the event page. I posted it. It's the first comment under the video for the live stream. It is also pinned on my Twitter profile page. If you go to my Twitter account, @JoshC.Howard, it is the first tweet. It is pinned to the top, so you'll have access to it. Steal it and use it however you want. Present it to your staff or whatever. I don't care. Just it's yours to whatever you want to do with it. Next question. Could I create a blend space lesson and share it out to my students through Schoology? All right. My district, we don't use Schoology, but I know what it is. Schoology is basically just a way that you can shoot out content to your students. If you posted a blend space, page on Schoology, it would be just the same thing. So just like uploading a PDF or sending students to a Google form, sending them to a blend space website is virtually the same thing. So I have to say I've never actually used Schoology, but I have friends in districts that do, and I think that it would work the same way. So don't quote me on that, but I'm sure it would work. The next question is, have you done badging with your students and mixed it with blended learning? Yeah, absolutely I have. One of the things I did do with my students was badging. I had a kind of a black belts theme that I got from when I used to teach math back in elementary school. Students would earn black belts and brown belts and yellow belts and all that stuff for doing their multiplication tables or doing the times test. I know, like old teacher stuff. But yeah, I did that with my students last year if they learned how to do Padlet, or if I did Today's Meet in my class every day, and so I would have students earn a Today's Meet badge. They would earn Padlet badge. They would get Google Classroom badges. They'd get badges for all kinds of stuff, and it's really cool. And you can give them even achievements that compound upon each other. So yeah, totally would recommend badging. I do it with teachers. I've done it with students. You can totally do that. Next question, have you been successful posting blend space with Google Classroom? Had problems earlier this year? I haven't had problems. I just posted it as a link. I didn't create it as an assignment. Maybe that's something you might have been having an issue with, but I just just as an announcement, like, okay, here's your lesson for the day, and I would post it up as a link, and so it's virtually like sending and emailing a link out to them. It could be something else though, I'm not sure, and without knowing all the details, I don't know why you'd have problems with it, but I have had problems with posting stuff sometimes to Google Classroom, so it could have been that, but if it's something with blend space, I don't know what that might have been. Always the time of my life with you. Aw. Appreciate the props. Word up. All my awesome people here today. Hard Hat is pro, thank you. Rocking the roof off, so I want to make sure my head is safe. I'm gonna clear all these off, just make sure there's no questions hiding here at the end before we wrap up our session today. Can you share some of the digital badges you used? Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter or if you check my links, I'll post some of that stuff a little bit later after I get out of here. I don't have, we can't really pull those up here at home, but if I get to work, I'll tweet those things out. And I'll tag EdCamp Global or something on and try to get them out to you guys. Love the hat, thank you. That's why I do it, for the people. And okay, yeah, it's my pizza friend. All right, so I'm gonna go back through this, and please, if you have more questions, let me know. I want to help you guys if you have further issues with this. You're awesome. Thanks for letting us use your presentation. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we do as teachers. We need to be having each other's back and helping each other out. So please just steal this, and if you want to give me credit, that's great. Yeah, just give that a shot with Google Classroom. I think it'll work. All right, let me finish this thing up. All right, so I did want to take some time here at the end. I know that we're early, but like I can go back through and take requests here, or if you have any other questions or anything. I want you to ask yourself, do you think you understand blended learning better than before? I have a tendency to rush through things, so if I've gone too fast, you can ask me to stop. Which of these tools are you most likely to use in the upcoming school year? If you want to post those up in the questions, that'd be cool. I'd like to know like what you guys think of this stuff. It's always good to get feedback. And if you are feeling adventurous, go ahead and open up those slides so you can find them and find that blend space lesson and work through it, because that's why I did it. I've actually done this lesson with my teachers, and it is pretty powerful. It kind of shows them some stuff. We got a couple other questions. Can students change the blend space when you send it out? Not to my knowledge. I don't think they can, but I think if they created a teacher account, they could create their own. But if you send one out and just share the link, they do not have editing power over that. Okay, so no, they cannot edit a blend space if you send it out. Great presentation. Thank you for sharing. Of course, I have a passion for doing this stuff, and I post a lot of resources that I work on my Twitter account a lot. So if you want more, just contact me on there. I'm very generous with the stuff that I share. Just followed you. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna get badges out, stuff about what I'm doing with badges. I'm actually working on a whole new system for badges for the new school year, so I'm really excited about that, and I want to keep you guys up to date with that too. All right. Last thing before I will be done here. Just want to say thank you for attending. EdCamp Global is a great resource for teachers, and you guys get it if you're here. We need more people like y'all who will take their time out and will be up at darn near midnight trying to do something that's going to help their kids this year. And you guys are the ones that are going to make a difference for kids. And I want to say thanks a lot for showing up here and trying to learn how to do some of this stuff, because it takes some guts to try to learn something that's kind of this difficult. My Twitter handle, is Josh C. Howard. Josh, the letter C, as in Cobra, Howard. But yeah, and it's also on the event page. If you go to the event page for well, here. This is the guy you want, and this is the tweet you want right here. Okay. So there's the URL for the presentation if you would like to type that in. And it's a goo.gl link, so you probably need to use the capitals. Okay, great. You found it. Awesome. That's why we do it. I know a lot more than I did before. I understand the concept, but I didn't know how it worked. Thank you so much. And if you have more questions, you can email me. I'll put my contact page back up here in a second. You can email me, jhoward@fulton58.org, or you can hit me up on Twitter. Either one works. Let me go back here. If you want to network with me, here is my info. So that will be something that will help you if you want to network with me and get some of my stuff. Close that. Thanks, great presentation. Thanks for being here. I know it's super late. I tried to make it quick for you guys who want to go to bed. Oh yeah, we got that cleared up. All right, so that's it. Hopefully you guys had a good time. You learned something. If you didn't, I'm sorry. If you did, you're welcome. I really hope I see you guys in some of the continuing sessions here at EdCamp Global. As I said, I'm a big believer in the power of the EdCamp, and especially something that's global and networks people together. So I think it's a really powerful tool, and I think you guys should take advantage of it. So yeah, that's it. Please shoot me an email or add me on Twitter if you want some more information. And until then, have a great evening, you guys. It's been awesome.